Welcome to 2026. Tonight, WWE was in my backyard. They were in New York. New York. Their home base. If you can't get over in New York, probably not going to happen. But if you do get over in New York, especially with this audience, you done something right. WWE did not do hardly anything right tonight. Tonight, the big promotion was Stranger Things because, of course, we have to have the Netflix tie-in here to the new season. So it was a Stranger Things edition. Oh, it was a very strange episode of Raw. Yes, that is the case. It certainly was. This entire show felt like it was in the Upside Down. But that's what it was. It was the Stranger Things episode of Monday Night Raw here for the first Raw of the new year. And, you know, it's one of these things where you're going to hear from a lot of people who are going to be very upset because they thought that Chris Jericho was going to be on the show tonight and he wasn't there, and damn it, it ruined the entire show for them. And to be fair, WWE has really nobody to blame but themselves when you have Adam Pearce posting on social media this weekend a video hyping up the show tonight where he says, we're going to break the walls down on Raw with 3 huge championship matches. Like, yeah, I don't know. I see what you're doing there. They're trolling us. They're trolling us. There was no Chris Jericho on the show tonight. Let's just get this out of the way first. Jericho was not on Raw tonight. I told you on the podcast yesterday, Royal Rumble. If you want Jericho, Royal Rumble. I was not really expecting him to be on the show tonight. But how can I sit here, honestly, and I would say this to anybody who's actually genuinely upset about this. I cannot sit here in 2026 and be upset that we did not have Chris Jericho on Monday Night Raw. If he's going to show up, he will show up at some point. I'm sure he will. But I am not upset that Chris Jericho was not on Raw here tonight. And if you are upset and if you think it ruined the entire show for you because of it, you got to get your priorities straight. Okay, Chris Jericho is not going to make or break a show in 2026. If we learned anything last year, I think we learned that. But put him on the side here for a second. Now, people are big mad about that. You know what you should be big mad about? You should be big mad about how fucking boring this show was. This was the big Raw that they have been hyping up now for weeks. The big January 5th episode of Raw. The big World Heavyweight Championship main event. And they have this title match and that title match. Remember a year ago, the first show on Netflix, how much they hyped that show up? And what a dud that mostly turned out to be. You had The Rock on the show that night. It wasn't even The Rock. It was Dwayne. He was putting over Cody. The last time we saw The Rock, he was feuding with Cody. Now he's putting over Cody like a fucking board member and all this other stuff. Hogan being booed. Of course, that's one of the memorable Raw moments from last year. And CM Punk was in the main event of that show as well. It was him against Seth Rollins. When you really, hype up a big show like that, it can be hard. You set expectations very high. It could be hard to meet those expectations. My issue with the show tonight, more than anything else, even more than any one particular match, is how lifeless this show felt. And tonight it really hit me. And there are weeks where, more than others, it will really hit me sitting here watching this show. How many commercial breaks they take at the beginning of a match, or during the course of a match, or in between the matches, where it just feels like, man, didn't we just have one? And then they come back and then nothing really happens before they go into the next one. Tonight was one of those nights. There was a lot of stuff that happened on the show, but yet it felt like there wasn't a whole hell of a lot that really happened on this show, outside of the championship matches that we got. We got some in-ring segments. We got some promo segments. For the most part, it was all very boring and all very blah. It was all very meh. Now, we had, in the main event tonight, a World Heavyweight Championship match between CM Punk and Bron Breakker. And also, by the way, I should mention, anybody who's going to put the blame on the crowd for this show, in defense of this crowd here in Brooklyn, they didn't exactly have a whole hell of a lot to get loud for. Believe me, the fans in New York generally are plenty loud when you give them a reason to be. And WWE really didn't give them a reason to be tonight. But in the main event, we had CM Punk and Bron Breakker for the World Heavyweight Championship. Bron Breakker, when Seth Rollins went down with his injury, and they had to come up with a new match for Saturday night's main event back at the beginning of November. I know some people were hoping CM Punk and LA Knight, but obviously that was not going to happen. But I was like, you know what? Bron Breakker, CM Punk, strap up Bron Breakker. This is when I was naive enough to believe, given the angle they did, that they were going to push Bron Breakker in a different kind of way. And then they really ended up going a totally different direction with it, where he was just another guy in the Vision, which is not how I would have done it, but okay. But I was like, man, you know what? You got to shake things up a little bit here. I would have put the fucking belt on him at the beginning of November. But they waited. And so we got here to the beginning of January. And it's like, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Last week, it really hit me. They're probably not putting the belt on him. It felt to me watching this show last week, we're probably not going to get a World Heavyweight Championship change here on this show. So I can't say that I was surprised or stunned that they, didn't change the title here in the main event tonight. If anything, I was surprised by how clean it was. CM Punk not only retained the World Heavyweight Championship here on this show, but he did so clean in the middle of the ring. And it's like, well, on the one hand, it's nice to get a clean finish in a main event and not get fucked out of an actual winner. Okay, that's good. But it was certainly a choice to put CM Punk over clean over Bron Breakker in a match like this. What it does, though, I think, is it puts Breakker in position to be one of the favorites to win the Royal Rumble match now. I mean, I can't say for sure that I have the utmost confidence that that's what's going to happen here, but that would certainly be one way for him to bounce back from this loss. If, in losing, it just sort of, he snaps in a way and ends up going on to win the Royal Rumble to earn himself another championship match at WrestleMania. That would certainly be one way to sort of remedy what we saw here tonight. He certainly is one of the favorites now. I don't think the loss is as damaging as some people are making it, or probably will make it out to be. It doesn't bury him. It doesn't put him in the back of the line. It didn't make him look awful. I mean, look, yes, you have CM Punk, 48-year-old CM Punk, who's out there huffing and puffing, and you have Bron Breakker, who's this young stallion, right, who can run the ropes at 23 miles an hour, and he's killing people with spears, and, CM Punk beats him clean in the middle of the ring. How could they do such a thing? I get it. But if you look at what they did in the match tonight, the first half of the match, basically, it was actually pretty fucking dull. It was all Bron Breakker. He was dominating this guy at the beginning of the match. He was having his way with him, going after the ribs and breaking him down piece by piece. And then in the second half of the match is really where things turned around, and Bron Breakker almost died during the main event. We were all talking about the spot from World's End, right? When Kyle Fletcher landed on his fucking head. Bron Breakker landed on his fucking head tonight, but he didn't mean to. I promise you that was not his intent, but that's what happened. He went for one of his Breakensteiners, as he calls it, and legitimately landed right on top of his head. And he's lucky that he trains his neck and that he didn't break it. And was able to continue wrestling after that. He survived, but he lost. He went on to lose the match in the middle of the ring clean, 1, 2, 3. The key now coming out of this is to make sure that whatever plans they have for Raw next week or the week after that, he has to bounce back from this in a big way. That is going to be the key coming out of what we saw here tonight. There has to be consequences for what we saw. It cannot be a situation where he merely shows up on television next week and falls in line, and the Vision now just has to regroup as a team and figure out what's next. Bron Breakker should show up on Raw next week looking to rip people's heads off their bodies. He should be going around, he should go on to find Adam Pearce and rip his head off his body and shit down his neck. Okay, that's what Bron Breakker should want to do. They need a whole army of security geeks next week to hold this guy back from killing CM Punk. He should be incensed that maybe he was overconfident and maybe he beat himself more than anything else, however they want to explain it. But there have to be consequences for it. There has to be some sort of fallout where we know that Bron Breakker is on the warpath coming out of this. This cannot just be treated as another loss here. Because this main event went almost 30 minutes tonight. And again, the first half was pretty dull. It did pick up there in the final few minutes. There was a spot near the end of that main event tonight, which was actually very spectacular. It reminded me of Logan Paul, because we've seen Logan Paul do this in big PLE matches a whole bunch of times, where he'll come flying off the top rope with like a diving splash through the announce desk. And he'll clear that distance, and it's very impressive when he does it. And then usually they're laid out there for, a few minutes. But there was a similar spot here at near the end of the main event, where Punk was out there, and Bron Breakker he came flying off the top rope with a diving elbow, and he cleared that distance, and he put Punk through the table. They both go crashing through. It was this big spectacular bump, and they replayed it 2 or 3 times, and he very quickly got Punk back in the ring. Now, Punk, again, he's out there, and he's, look, Punk's older. He's not moving around quite as fast as he used to. Part of it was selling. Also, he was selling the ribs. He immediately puts him back into the ring, and you would think, well, that's got to be it, right? That's got to be the beginning of the end right there. That actually led to the beginning of the end for Bron Breakker. Punk came right back and beat him like nothing even happened. That was the other thing that blew my mind. How are you going to do a spot like that, and that doesn't play into the finish in Breakker's favor? It's not like they spent minutes outside selling it. Like, they went right back in the ring, and Punk just beat him. Why even do a spot like that? Why even do a spot like that? Just to have Bron Breakker put him back in the ring, and then Punk beats him 1, 2, 3. That I didn't understand. And there were some rough moments in the match. Like I said, when Breakker landed on his head, Punk even fell out of the ring at one point. He came flying out of the ring. He went splat right on the floor. That was kind of scary. But by the time the match was over, I thought that they ended up having a good match. It was not some great blowaway main event or anything like that. But they kind of redeemed it a little bit there at the end. It was not without its flaws. But CM Punk is still the World Heavyweight Champion, and even though that title did not change hands here on this show, we actually did have 2 title changes. We have new Women's Tag Team Champions, and that was a good match to open the show. That was good. Not great, but good. The Women's Intercontinental title changed hands tonight. That was not good. That was not a good match. The less said about that, the better. But Becky Lynch is once again the Women's Intercontinental Champion. Just because we had a couple of title changes and a whole bunch of title matches on the show does not make this a good show. Like, I'm trying to cut these excuses off before people start making excuses here. It's nice to have championship matches on the show. I wish they would do it a little more often. Doesn't have to be every week. But that in and of itself does not make this a must-see, memorable show. Again, the women's IC match was very forgettable. Certainly not even the best outing those two have had. Beyond that, though, we had Gunther. Now, Gunther's been running around for weeks ever since he tapped out John Cena, and he's been repeating the same line over and over again, because in WWE, that's what you do. You have your catchphrase, you have your slogan, you go out there like a fucking robot, and every single week you have to repeat it. It's a new city every week, right? I tapped out John Cena like a bitch, right? And he's laughing. We're at a point now, a few weeks in, where this all feels very forced, to be honest with you. But now that AJ Styles has lost the tag team titles, it has freed him up, as I was hoping it would, to do more meaningful stuff in a singles role. And they've been teasing out this potential AJ Styles Gunther match for a few weeks, so it's not like this came out of nowhere. The surprising part is that they're doing the match next week. They're doing the, I'm sure, first match between the two of them on Raw next week, which is going to be in Germany, which means the show is airing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon next Monday. And that is when they are doing the first AJ Styles and Gunther match. So the thing I can say about that, I'm looking forward to the match. Shocked they're doing it next week, but it's in Germany. So I think the crowd, with that crowd, it has the potential to be fun. I'm just happy that they're going to have Gunther doing something other than what he's been doing over the last few weeks. And I talked about this last week. He beat John Cena on December 13th, okay? And now it's January 5th. And what has Gunther really done since he's beaten John Cena? Not a whole lot. We were heading into the holidays. There were some taped shows, the New Year. Okay, now it's the first Raw of the New Year. And we got a confrontation with him and AJ Styles tonight. They need to make sure that whatever heat Gunther still has, and he does not have this nuclear heat that some people thought he would. Right? Oh, he had to tap out John Cena. Oh my God, it's going to be nuclear heat. It's not nuclear heat. He's got heat though. And to make sure that they don't squander whatever he's got left, this is something that was needed. If that means doing him and AJ next week one-on-one to kick things off between them of what will hopefully be an extended program that may lead into WrestleMania, so be it. It beats the hell out of what they've had this man doing over the last few weeks. Then he had that throwaway match with R-Truth that nobody cared about. We have to get him going here, and if that means putting him in the ring with AJ Styles and kicking off whatever this story is going to be, great. But again, I just wasn't expecting the first match to be on TV at 2 o'clock in the afternoon next week, but that's what they're doing on Raw next week. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this as well. Javon Evans, and you guys know I'm a big fan of Javon Evans. I am all in favor of him being called up. Javon Evans is officially now a member of the Monday Night Raw roster. But if you were watching this show on Netflix here in the United States without a VPN, you would never know. Because the segment that they did to announce that Javon Evans is officially on Monday Night Raw aired during a commercial break. Think of all the shit that we actually had on the show tonight. This they couldn't find time for. This was during a commercial break where he signed the contract to become an official. I don't even think coming out of the commercial they even showed a replay of it. I don't even know that the announcers mentioned it. Come to think of it, this is such a big deal. You would think so, but evidently not. But yes, Javon Evans is now officially on Monday Night Raw. This was not a good show. This was not a good show. At least they got rid of Travis Scott. The Travis Scott song that has been playing on Raw for the past year is no more. They have gotten rid of Travis Scott. They have replaced him with an Eminem song. They have now completely divorced themselves from Travis Scott. I don't believe they have any affiliation left whatsoever with Travis Scott. However, Travis Scott is now and forever immortalized in WWE history by being part of the John Cena heel turn and by influencing the outcome, arguably being a part of the outcome of the WrestleMania main event where John Cena set the record with 17 world championships. Those two moments in wrestling history will always have Travis Scott as a part of them. Yeah. Let's talk about this show, shall we? I know you don't want to, but that's why you're here. This is your Raw on Netflix, your Stranger Things Raw on Netflix review here. It is Monday night, January 5th, 2026. We're going to unwrap all of this, the good, the bad, and the fucking ugly. We'll talk about it all. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. We are getting very close to 90,000 subscribers. And you may be the lucky one. I don't know. We'll see. Won't be tonight, but it's going to get us that much closer. Super chats are open as well. I will be reading your messages a little bit later on here in the stream. And we had a fun show this weekend on the Sound Off, in case you missed it, including my predictions for the wrestling world here in 2026. I did leave off one prediction. I'm kind of kicking myself now. I should have predicted how fucking boring this show was going to be tonight, but it didn't pop up there in my crystal ball. But anyway, my predictions are up there, and all the news of the week, that is for episode 945 of the Sound Off. My goodness. So Michael Cole and Corey Graves opened the show. They came out of a van down by the river. No, they came out of a van. So basically, again, the Stranger Things tie-in, they had all of this apparatus and paraphernalia, whatever you want to call it. The staging was Stranger Things themed. And it included the van, if you watch the show, the radio station van. And it was parked on stage. And so they came out of the van. And I love how Corey Graves, he was wearing a Hellfire Club t-shirt. So if you watch the show, you know the reference there. So the graphics all throughout the night were all Stranger Themes, there I go again, Stranger Things themed. Say that 5 times fast. and the set. And they played the Stranger Things theme song, which was cool because it's a great fucking song. They also had vines, the vines from Stranger Things, and they were draped over the barricades around the ringside area. You know, they really, and I'm sure Netflix had a lot to do with this as well, but they really put actual effort. I think they put more effort into the set tonight than they did the actual fucking show. They put a lot of effort into the staging and the vines and the set and the graphics and everything, and they really made it feel special in that regard. And it's the sort of thing that I wish, like I'm looking at the stage and everything, and I'm like, why can't they do that for their PLEs? Like outside of WrestleMania, every other PLE looks exactly the same. We need to have some effort put in, a little more effort put in, I think, creativity. You know, when it comes to the sets for some of their own like major events, I think that would be nice. But anyway, they did a good job with that tonight, at least. So they open with the first of 3 championship matches here on this show. For the women's tag team titles, it was Rhea Ripley and Io Sky teaming up to take on Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors. Yes, Uffman, he hit the nail on the head. All the effort went into the decorations tonight. Imagine if they put as much effort into the booking of this show tonight and some of the stories as they did the set. This would have been an incredible show. The actors from Stranger Things could beat the Vision. Oh, man. So for all of the Stranger Things stuff that they took the time for here at the beginning of this show, they went to, and this is my point, they went to a commercial break 30 seconds into this match. This would be a recurring theme throughout the entire show. Corey Graves, I got to give Corey Graves a shout out. He mentioned Hiroshi Tanahashi. We got a Hiroshi Tanahashi retirement mention on commentary tonight when Io Sky dropped Asuka with a sling blade. That was nice. Ripley dropped Kairi with a razor's edge. It never ceases to amaze me when she hits this woman with this move. She just folds her up with it every single time. It looks like she is murdering her every time she hits this razor's edge. And then it kills me that it's not the finish. But she hit a razor's edge and followed that up, Io did with a missile drop kick for a near fall. So a little while later, Rhea hit Kairi with a riptide. Io went up for her moonsault. Asuka shoved Rhea into Io, which knocked her off the ropes. Asuka then hit Rhea with a code breaker for a near fall. Hint, hint. Hit her with a code breaker for a near fall. So for the finish, Ripley put Asuka down with a... I mentioned that already. Actually, no, there was another one. Ripley put Asuka down with a riptide. Io then followed with her over the moonsault. And then she says, hey, Kairi's out there. So she goes flying through the ropes with a suicide dive and takes out Kairi on the floor. Rhea has Asuka covered. 1, 2, 3. And just like that, we have new women's tag team champions. So there was reason to be optimistic here, right? We opened the show with what I thought was a good match and a title change. It's like, okay, all right, that's one way to kick off the show, right? There's a reason to be hopeful here. And we got the crowd-pleasing finish here. So we know that Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, on Friday, in fact, they put Rhea and Io on notice that if you win those titles, we got next. But of course, you've got Nia Jax and Lash Legend, who already pinned the Kabuki Warriors. And so they have laid their claim to the women's tag team titles as well. Them winning the titles tonight, by the way, Rhea and Io, this opens them up now to be used on NXT. So I'm not sure if that's something they want to do. I'm sure Shawn Michaels would love to have them on NXT, but you know, it is tri-branded, these titles. So we could conceivably get Rhea and Io 1 week defending those titles, maybe against Sol Ruca and Zarya, or you know, some other team from NXT. What I hate is how they jobbed out Asuka and Kairi to Nia and Lash a few weeks ago. I mean, they just got beat clean in a non-title match on SmackDown. All to build to this match here on this show where they go in there and they get beat again. So they lost to Nia and Lash. Now they lost to Rhea and Io. And it's like, where do you go next with these two? I was hoping that we were going to be building to a singles match between Io and Asuka. And it doesn't feel like that's the direction they're going in at all. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if Asuka blames Kairi for the loss. Even though Asuka is the one who ate the pin, she may end up blaming Kairi for the loss. But it'll be interesting to see how long they hold these titles for. Are they really going to keep the tag team titles on Rhea Ripley and Io Sky through WrestleMania? Or is this something that's just going to be for, maybe a month or so, and then they drop them and then they move on to whatever their Mania plans are going to be? I don't know. I mean, if they want to give somebody else a chance to wrestle for the Women's World Championship, not name Rhea Ripley. I mean, I would love it if it was Io Sky again, but they want to give somebody else a chance. I can't hate on that, right? It's not a bad thing to get some new faces in the mix when it comes to the world title. But they better have something damn good planned. If you got Rhea and Io who are being relegated to tag team duty, I don't know if that means some kind of big women's tag team ladder match. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but it all depends on how long they hold the titles for. If this is going to be a long-term thing or just a short-term thing, I don't know. Now, in the back, Adam Pearce met up with Rhea and Io, and he congratulated them, and he told them how proud he was of them. And they also had a Demogorgon that was right behind Adam Pearce, and he looked at it. He was very confused by this. He goes, "What the hell is this?" So then he saw Gunther, who is very much not a Demogorgon. And he went over to him and he told him, "You go out there and you speak from the heart. Say what's on your mind, but mix in a little respect when you speak." So Gunther laughed him off. He started making his way towards the ring. And as soon as he got there, they went to a commercial break. Now, the very next thing that we saw when they came back, if you watch Stranger Things, the beginning of each episode, they have these chapter titles that then zoom in, right? Chapter 2, Chapter 5. They were doing that for the various segments throughout the night. So again, they put a lot of thought into how they were going to really, structure this show when it came to the Stranger Things stuff, which was kind of cool. So they had one here that said Chapter 2, He Who Remains. And that led into the Gunther segment here. He said management told him to show respect. But what about respect for the man who made John Cena tap out like a little... And then he was interrupted by AJ Styles. He power walked to the ring. He did not look very happy. He told AJ, "If you're here to talk to me about respect, you're punching above your weight." AJ went to go speak and he cut him off and told him that AJ knows he's the greatest wrestler in this company right now, and that includes you. So Styles again went to speak. And again, Gunther interrupted and reminded him that he's the man who tapped out Cena like a little you-know-what, he said. AJ went to speak, and Gunther interrupted again to tell him, like a little bitch. And again, this all just feels very forced now. It's all just to sell a t-shirt. In fact, I think he showed off the shirt. Again, everything with them is just, it's merchandising. That's all it is. It doesn't matter if stuff comes off on TV, sometimes it's cringe or whatever. It's all about selling shirts, selling shit. That's all that. I mean, again, I've said it before. I mean, they would tattoo their logo on their mother's ass if they knew that they could make money off of it. So he asked little AJ what he's going to do about it, and AJ smacked the shit out of him. And Gunther was hot about it. They went forehead to forehead. AJ was not backing down, though. And he asked Gunther, "What are you going to do about it?" And Gunther didn't say anything, and AJ's like, "That's what I thought." And he threw the microphone down, and he backed out of the ring, and that's it. And Gunther was just standing there stewing. So then in the back later on, Gunther went to Adam Pearce to complain about AJ when Styles showed up, and he called him a little bitch for going to the boss to complain. So Gunther told Pearce he wants Styles next week. And Adam Pearce made it official that we were going to get our first match between the two of them on Raw next week. They're giving the first match away again, Raw, 2 o'clock in the afternoon from Dusseldorf. I said Dusseldorf in Germany. They got this whole international tour. It's going to be a lot of early shows over these next few weeks, which is good because that means there's going to be some early streams too. I like that. 2 o'clock? Raw's going to be at 2 o'clock next week. Probably looking at an 8 p.m. stream. I can live with that. But look, the fact that they're doing this match on TV next week, I'm not going to complain about it because it's better than what they have had Gunther doing. It's better than him just coming out and repeating the same promo over and over and over again week after week, or wrestling Otis, or wrestling R-Truth. He's going to be in there with a credible opponent, somebody the fans care about, somebody the fans are invested in, and somebody who can give him a really good match. But it is only going to be the first match. I see this, here's what I'm hoping for. I see this as the first of a multi-match series, maybe 3, that they can stretch out. They could stretch this out until WrestleMania. There is a way to do that. I don't know if that's their plan or not. You got 2 more PLEs before we even get to WrestleMania, and at least one Saturday night's main event. Actually, the week before the Rumble, they're doing Saturday night's main event. We know Gunther is not losing next week. Gunther just beat John Cena. He just tapped out John Cena. Gunther should not be losing for a very long time, right? At least many months. So we know he's not losing next week, which means we're either not getting a finish or Gunther is just going to beat AJ Styles, right? That's it. That's it. They don't do time limits in WWE. So it's one of those 2, right? No finish or Gunther wins. It's very simple. If AJ is finishing up at WrestleMania, and he has not clarified exactly how deep into 2026 he is going to wrestle, other than this is going to be his last year. But he never said that he's going to go the whole year, like John Cena did. If AJ is going to finish up at WrestleMania, this is what I said before. I think the play is AJ putting his career on the line. You don't tell people that this is his final match. You don't do that. You don't do with him what you did with John Cena. And I think AJ, let's say he loses next week. And let's say there's a second match that he loses. And AJ gets desperate, almost like Undertaker and Shawn Michaels when they headed into WrestleMania 26. And Shawn had his retirement match. It was a situation where he was desperate to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He came so close the year before, and they won a Slammy Award, but it wasn't enough for him. It was just eating away at him. I know I can beat you. I know I can break the streak. I know I can do it. And he was willing to put his career on the line. He was so confident. Nothing else mattered. You tell a similar story with AJ and Gunther if AJ is wrapping up in Vegas. That's how this should be played out. Whether it's AJ voluntarily saying, look, I'm going to put my career on the line. Or Gunther maybe forces him or coerces him into doing so. Maybe both of them do. Maybe it's a loser leaves WWE stipulation at WrestleMania. Now, maybe that makes it a little more predictable as far as what the outcome is going to be for some people who know that AJ is wrapping up. But, if I'm WWE, I'm shutting up. I'm not harping on the fact that AJ has said that he is retiring this year. They've already acknowledged it on TV. I don't dwell on it. I almost want to make people forget about it. And then if you do that match and you have that stipulation, especially if both of their careers are on the line, imagine the drama now, right? In every near fall in that match. I think that's the way you play it. And then obviously in the end, Gunther wins. But there's a way to do it that I think works a lot better than just if you go into it and everybody already knows how it's going to end. Because then all you end up with is a situation like what we had with John Cena and Bill Goldberg, where we already knew going into those matches that they were retiring. Gunther didn't really technically retire anyone. They retired themselves. You want to put heat on the guy, he should be the one to do it. That's why it was so goofy when he was showing up on TV and everybody was so mad at him. What an evil man you are for fucking doing your job. Like, when you really stop and think about it, it doesn't make any sense. Yes, he was being disrespectful, but so what? I mean, they were looking at him like he put a bullet in the man's head. So if they're gonna stretch this out until Mania, I think they could absolutely do it. But that's more along the lines of the kind of story I would like to see them tell. Now, after this, we had the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Becky Lynch challenging Maxxine Dupri. They got Y2J fans in the crowd chanting for Y2J. So that tells you what you need to know about the beginning of this match with the Y2J chants. Becky tried yanking Dupri off the apron at one point. Maxxine countered by doing a cartwheel. I don't know why, but I guess because she can. So she did a cartwheel. Later on, Maxxine fired up. She applied an ankle lock. Becky got a rope break. They traded some counters until Becky hit a superplex from the middle rope and then into a DDT for a 2 count. Maxxine came back with a flying crossbody of her own. Becky set up for a power bomb out of the corner. And Maxxine slipped out. She applied an ankle lock. This did not look good. Becky tried flipping out of it. Maxxine held on while lying on the mat. So Maxxine is laying flat on the mat, okay? And she still has this move applied. Becky then leans backwards. And as she's leaning backwards, she grabs the bottom rope for added leverage while Maxxine's shoulders are down. And she pins Maxxine with the aid of the rope to win back the Intercontinental Championship because the dumb referee didn't see it. All he had to do was look up. He didn't look up. He didn't see it. And so Becky wins the title back. That makes 3 title changes. I should point out 3 title changes on this show in 2 weeks. I just pointed out. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying for those who really haven't stopped to think about it, we've had 3 championships change hands on this show in the last 2 episodes. This was not good. This was not good. For all of the progress that Maxxine has made, and she has, baby steps. And like personality-wise, promo-wise, I think she's definitely, taken some steps forward. But for all of that, she still has a long way to go. This was not a good match. I definitely noticed that Jessica Carr was not the referee. So Becky happens to win this match by cheating, right? She takes the shortcut to win the title back, and it just so happens that Jessica Carr is not the referee for the match. So I'm sure that was done intentionally, and that is definitely going to have to play into things here. As far as why they did the title change, I mean, my thought was, they're going to want to get the belt back on her, and then AJ Lee's going to come back, and maybe we get Becky and AJ for the title at WrestleMania. It could just as well be that Maxxine just got married and she's going to go away on a honeymoon for a while. I mean, how long is this honeymoon going to be? But I don't know. There could be any number of reasons why they decided to do the title change here. If it comes down that, Jessica Carr is going to officiate, let's say, another match between them, who knows? Maybe Maxxine wins the belt back, or maybe that's when AJ shows up. But we've already done that, right? You can't really do that same finish again. So I don't know if this is the end of the Maxxine as champion experiment or not. She doesn't need a title on her to just allow her to go out there and just get better. The only way she's going to get better is, again, going out there and having matches with people that know what they're doing. That's why her working with someone like Becky was a smart move. But, Rome wasn't built in a day. So she's still very green. She's still very inexperienced. And I never really expected her title reign to be terribly long. Maybe this ended a little sooner than I thought, but the match itself was just no great shakes. The match itself was really nothing to celebrate. Now, after this, we got another Obafemi video package. I'm pretty sure it was the same one that they aired last week. But the ruler is coming, and not a day too soon. But he's not coming before he defends his NXT championship tomorrow night against Leon Slater. So he's got a big title match at New Year's Evil coming up tomorrow. But he is on the way. He is on the way. Then we got a shot, a very troubling shot backstage of the Women's World Champion, Stephanie Vaquer. And she was wearing a walking boot. And I said, oh no, at least it's not a shoulder. At least she didn't have the boot on her shoulder. That's good. That's a plus. But that didn't look too good. So during the commercial break, this is what I mentioned at the beginning of the review. During the commercial break, Adam Pearce comes out on stage. He's got a contract binder. And with him is Javon Evans, the bouncy boy from NXT, who's been everywhere. He's been on Raw. He's been on SmackDown. He's been in NXT, AAA, TNA. This guy's bouncing around all over the place. Where's he going to land? It felt like he was going to be on Raw, and that's where he ended up. So Adam Pearce makes the announcement that he is officially now on the Monday Night Raw roster, and he has him sign his contract. Great. I'm happy for him. 21 years old. He's already on the main roster. Good for him. I can't believe that they actually just decided to air this during the commercial break and not even really make a big deal about it. But that's what they did. They aired it during the commercial break. And I know he's on the main roster now, but even still, do it. Don't be cowards. Do it. Leon Slater is challenging Obafemi tomorrow night. Put the NXT championship on Leon's. I know he's the TNA X Division champion. He might not even be signed to WWE. I don't give a shit. Put the title on Leon Slater. Get Obafemi up to the main roster. And even though Javon Evans is on Raw, it doesn't mean that he can't challenge for that NXT championship at Stand and Deliver. And you give us Javon Evans and Leon Slater, and you give us a fucking finish to that match that you deprived us of at Bound for Glory. That's the match that I want to see at Stand and Deliver. Do it. Do it, you cowards. Jimmy and Jey Uso were up next. Everyone's favorites here. The Usos were out. Everyone's yeeting in the crowd here in Brooklyn. So they come out through the crowd and they stop. And in the crowd is where they stay. They're going to cut their promo from the crowd. So I'm like, okay, this is different. And this was this was just, I don't even know how to describe this other than to say it was a promo. They're out there and they shout out AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, who they beat to win the tag team titles last week. But they go, that was last week. That was last year. 2026 was the year of the Usos. And this was a warning shot to every tag team in the game. Standing in front of you was the best tag team in the game. And they're going to be waiting right here for anyone who wanted to run up on them. That was it. Then they left. They had time for that, but not to announce that Javon Evans had just signed with the Raw roster. It's very clear why they did this, because they wanted to give Brooklyn the Jey Uso entrance so that everybody could yeet. 4 letters, 1 word. So they got their yeet entrance, and then they left, and we didn't hear from them again. At least it was short. Jackie Redmond was in the ring to introduce Stephanie Vaquer, and I didn't know what to expect here. All I know is that this woman is walking down to the ring, and she has a boot on her foot, and that is not a good sign. We've heard about a lot of injuries, a lot of shoulder injuries, but we've heard about a lot of injuries recently. Just on this holiday tour, they don't even really do house shows anymore. They had some house shows last week. I think like the post-Christmas tour. Michin was supposed to wrestle Jade Cargill on SmackDown Friday night. The reason she didn't is because she got hurt on the tour. I don't know how seriously, but she got a shoulder injury. So I'm like, okay, I wonder if they're going to do the match, but with B-Fab instead, and then they didn't do it. Yeah, because B-Fab got hurt on the same tour. She got concussed. What's going on here? I know it's a dangerous business here, but Jesus Christ, what is going on here? Apparently she was okay enough, though, to do a watch party that she was at with Damian Priest somewhere. They were showing them on the show tonight. They were having a Raw / Stranger Things watch party. And it was Damian Priest and B-Fab were there. So anyway, yeah, they're both hurt. So now Stephanie is out there and she's hurt as well. How serious, though? That's what I'm waiting to find out, right? So Michael Cole tells us that it was for an ankle injury that she suffered in her triple threat match for the Women's World Championship on the show last week against Nikki Bella and Raquel Rodriguez. Could this be a worked injury and not real? It's possible. I figure it's a real injury. It's just not, that serious, but I don't know. Maybe it is a worked injury. I don't know. So Jackie asked her, what now? That was her first question, by the way. Her first question was not, can you tell us more about this giant boot on your leg? Her question was you successfully retained your championship on the show last week. What next? How about a trip to the orthopedic surgeon? Stephanie spoke, and she thanked the WWE Universe for believing in her. And then she spoke Spanish for a bit. And then she said this, being the boot. She's referring to the boot. This will not stop her. She wants everyone. And she handed the mic back to Jackie, who told the fans, give it up for the champion. I'm like, okay. Short and to the point, I guess. Not much of a segment. But then Raquel Rodriguez ambushes her from behind. She's very upset about losing last week. Now, remember, she hit the Tejana bomb on Nikki Bella. And then Stephanie threw Raquel out of the ring. And that's how Stephanie retained the title. So technically, she stole the win from Raquel. Raquel feels like she should be the women's champion right now. Losses have consequences. See? Raquel was upset. Raquel decides, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. This should be Bron Breakker next week. So she attacks Stephanie, and she's going after the injured ankle. And she's smashing the leg repeatedly, into the canvas. And then she delivered a Tejana bomb. So Raquel goes outside, and she retrieves a steel chair. She brings it back inside, and she's going to Pillmanize the ankle. I love, by the way, how all these years later, it was one angle on a taped episode of Superstars in 1996. And to this day, was it 30 years later? Everybody does it, right? Pillmanize. They're going to Pillmanize the leg. They're going to Pillmanize the ankle. Because no one's come up with a better name for it since then, other than, place a chair over the ankle and stomp on it. It's Pillmanize. It's what people call it. I love it. It just stuck. So she's going to do it. She's going to stomp on the ankle. And anyway, here come Adam Pearce and Shane Helms and Daivari and all the referees to stop her. And then finally she leaves. But then after a commercial break in the back, we see the officials are helping Stephanie, and Raquel attacks her again and knocks her down to the ground, and she's going after the boot. Adam Pearce shows up again. He's yelling at her, and he tells her, I'm going to fine you to a point where you've got nothing left if you don't stop. So this felt to me like their way of writing her off television, maybe for a few weeks. This did not feel to me, it's not going to be an extended layoff, I don't think, because I'm sure they would have just had her go ahead and just relinquish the title tonight if it was anything that she needed surgery for, if anything was broken. So I think it's encouraging that they didn't announce anything and that they allowed her to get as physical as they did. Believe me, if it was a serious injury, she would not have been cleared to do, take a fucking Tejana bomb and, all of that kind of stuff. So if we assume the injury is legit, it doesn't seem to be that serious. Maybe she's back in time for, the Royal Rumble. It's not the end of the world. But remember, they already have Dom out, possibly until the Rumble. His injury ended up not being too serious either, but it's, enough that he's not going to be back for a few more weeks. And he's also a champion. She's the women's world champion. He's the Intercontinental champion. And so he's another one who's going to be out with an injury for a few weeks. The injury bug has just bitten a lot of people lately, and there's no good time for it to happen. But this time of year, they can ill afford for anyone else to go down. And there's not a whole lot they can do about it other than just hope and pray. But yeah, this is not the time of year you want to be hearing about injuries. So backstage, Rey Mysterio was sitting with Dragon Lee, and he gave Dragon Lee some words of encouragement and said that he would be the champion again. Dragon Lee appreciated the advice, and he left to go talk to AJ Styles. So then Penta showed up. He made his return on the show last week. Penta talked to Rey here for a little bit, and he told him that he was happy to come back early to help him against the Vision. Rey thanked him for having his back, and he said Penta understood the tradition and the honor and the respect of Lucha Libre, everything the Vision wanted to destroy. And Penta told Rey that he would always be here for him. What must the other Rey be thinking right now? There is somebody else on SmackDown, by the way, who's not doing a whole lot of... Actually, he's going to be doing a job for Trick Williams this Friday. That's what he's going to be doing. Wouldn't it just make sense to, I hope, be building to a Lucha Brothers reunion? I have proposed an Usos Lucha Brothers tag team title match for WrestleMania. I would love to see them build to that. Not that Rey Mysterio and Penta hanging out together isn't cool, but I'm just saying. Penta's going to be okay. Rey Fenix is the one who is just fucking dying on the vine on SmackDown right now. I'm sure in his mind, he can't wait for a Lucha Brothers reunion. We got Liv Morgan with Roxanne Perez, her other friend. Roxanne Perez in her corner against Lyra Valkyria, who had Bayley in hers. This was Liv's first match in 7 months since she got hurt. And we were told this is Lyra's first match ever in New York City, which I did not realize. So this went through a break, and the crowd was very quiet until this crazy-looking spot where Valkyria, she set up for Nightwing, and Morgan countered into what I assume was supposed to be like a code breaker, but Lyra took the move almost like a DDT. So when she came down, she came straight down on her face. I guess the mat broke her fall. Her face broke the fall, basically. And the referee went over immediately to check on her, make sure that there was nothing broken, and she seemed to be okay. But wow, yeah, that looks scary. So Morgan distracted the referee. Perez then pulled down the rope so that when Lyra hit the rope, she fell out of the ring to the floor. Bayley went over then to go check Roxanne Perez, and the referee saw this, so he stopped her. So Perez used that distraction to throw Bayley into the timekeeper's area. Then they had a shot of Bayley behind her rising up, and she had a look on her face like she had snapped. Like this is the other version of Bayley. So she grabbed the chair, she chased Roxanne to the back. Lyra was not paying attention to her opponent the way she should have been, and so Morgan flew in and hit Oblivion and picked up her first win in 7 months. I will point out to you, we talk about the booking on this show. I will point out to you that Lyra Valkyria was actually booked pretty strongly there for a while, and it was really when she was working with Becky Lynch, and they were going back and forth for the IC title. Outside of that terrible match at SummerSlam, that was a huge net positive for Lyra, and she did very well. I think it allowed her to, I think, show more of her personality, come out of her shell a little bit more, and she was having great matches and picking up a lot of wins. Lyra Valkyria has not won a match on TV since October. It is now January. It actually, I think when I reflect back on when this alliance or partnership started with Bayley, ever since the pairing with Bayley, her stock has actually fallen. Not blaming Bayley for that. I'm just saying, ever since it started, she's gone down. Like if she was an actual stock, she would have been hovering maybe above, I don't know, maybe let's say $50 a share, in June or July. And now her stock is down to about $18 a share. So, there's some work to be done to get her back up to where she was before. Jackie Redmond was backstage with CM Punk ahead of his World Heavyweight Championship match tonight. And she asks him how he's preparing for Bron Breakker and everything that he comes with, meaning the other members of the Vision. Punk dismissed the question, then tells people not to underestimate him. And he also threatened at one point to GTS Jackie and the cameraman as well, the person behind the camera, whoever it was. So I see the old CM Punk is still there, still threatening his coworkers. He's still buried in there. He'll show up every now and then. He showed up in the main event to beat up one of his coworkers. It was for the World Heavyweight Championship. It was CM Punk defending his title against Bron Breakker. Punk entered wearing a Steiner Brothers-esque varsity jacket with CM on the front, and then on the back it said Punk. So, of course, Rick Steiner, Bron's father, used to be part of a faction in WCW called the Varsity Club. So I like that little callback there. So Breakker just destroyed him for the first, I'd say 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes of this match. The crowd just sat there quietly, just watching. Until Punk got him up in position for a GTS, and then they got animated. Breakker, though, slipped out, and he delivered a gut buster to shut that shit down. Punk ended up on the outside of the ring as Breakker was stalking him, right? We've seen him do this before. So Breakker, he exited the ring. He took the long way. He took the scenic route as he was circling the ring, but Punk was waiting for him. He had him scouted, and he caught him with a leaping clothesline, and then they went to another commercial break. I think this was the second commercial of the match. So when they came back, Punk was on the ropes, and this is where we had our scary moment. Punk's on the ropes. Bron Breakker is setting up for the move where he charges towards the corner, and he runs the ropes, and he puts his arms out like that, right? And then as his body is falling backwards, I think he challenges himself each time to see how long he can wait before he does the jump up for the Hurricane Rana. One of these days, he's just going to mistime it and just fall backwards and look like an idiot. But in this case, he jumps up and he starts to fall backwards, right? And he leaps up. He waits until the last possible second. And he jumps up for the Hurricane Rana. And instead of taking CM Punk over, CM Punk never left the ropes. He just stayed there. Okay, he didn't go flying anywhere. The only person who went flying was Bron Breakker, straight down on top of his fucking head. And I mean like right on, not on his face, not even on his neck. Like the back, well, he did land on his neck, but not the back of his neck. He just came straight down and landed like right on top of his head. And the dude brained himself. That's what he did. He brained himself, more or less, on this move. So Punk stayed on the ropes, and after the referee was done checking on him to make sure that he wasn't concussed or dead or whatever, I would say maybe like a minute later, they tried it again. They redid the spot. And this time it went off okay. And he did the Hurricane Rana. He took Punk down only for a near fall, though. All that only for a near fall. Risking life and limb only for a near fall. Now, again, we've talked a lot in the last week or two about neck injuries and stupid shit that people do during matches. Things that they kind of know what they're doing and they planned it that way. And then you have situations like this. Funny enough, when we were talking about the William Regal tweet, and a lot of the AEW fans were very upset, that he of all people, the messenger, you're not the right person to be saying this. And why would you do it the day after the pay-per-view? And they used the Bron Breakker spot from War Games as an example when they were doing the Doomsday Device spot. And he was on Punk's shoulders, I think, right? And Cody came off. And Breakker, just the way he landed, he clearly did not intend to land that way, but he landed right on his fucking neck, right? And he could have killed himself. So they were citing that as an example. And it's like, it's not exactly apples for apples here. I mean, like, that was a botch. Like, that was not how he was intended to land. We've seen the Doomsday Device spot hundreds of times over the years. And so here we are again in another spot where Bron Breakker is involved and he lands on his freaking neck, clearly not intending to do so. So that was a scary moment there. So we had Breakker with the Gorilla Press. Punk, though, countered into a DDT. And Punk got the running knee in the corner. He hit the short arm clothesline. Then he headed for the heavens, and he came off with the diving elbow drop, and now he was ready for it. He is ready to go to sleep. As I'm sure many people were watching this episode of Monday Night Raw tonight. Punk was ready to hit the GTS here. So he is getting ready for this. Paul Heyman jumps up on the apron because he knows, right? Who knows Punk better than Paul Heyman does? Hey, Vince, what's going on? So Paul Heyman jumps up on the apron. He's screaming, he's hollering, he's trying to distract Punk and divert his attention away. Punk walks over. Heyman jumps down from the apron. Here comes the Vision. Here comes Bronson Reed and Logan Paul and Austin Theory. And they're jumping like on the apron. They're trying to get involved here. They're risking disqualification for their man. This is incredibly stupid. Punk manages to fight them off. And he punches all of them down, off the apron. So then, after he does this, Bron Breakker knocks Punk into the referee Chad Patton, who goes flying out of, I believe he flew out of the ring. And Austin Theory gets into the ring, and he delivers a curb stomp to CM Punk. So Breakker covers, I guess Chad Patton, he recovered quickly. And so he's back in the ring, and he goes to count the pin, and Punk kicks out. So only got 2 out of it. Here comes Dragon Lee and Penta and Rey Mysterio. They show up. Bronson Reed, rather, he got Rey Mysterio up for a vertical suplex outside, right in front of the announce desk. And before he could do anything, he ended up eating a double super kick from Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. And so then as Rey came down, he countered into a DDT to Bronson Reed on the floor outside. So the 3 baby faces, they then brawled off with all the Vision members into the crowd. They fought off. We didn't see them again. So that left Bron Breakker in the ring. He was getting ready for a spear. All right, he's going to cut this man down. He's going to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Punk moves, and Breakker posts himself. First, he brained himself. Now he posts himself, shoulder first in the corner. Punk gets him up, and he hits the GTS. Punk covers him. Breakker kicks out at 2.5. So that was a nice, dramatic near fall. Punk got Breakker up for a pile driver, and I really wish he didn't. Because, first of all, I see him putting this man in position for a pile driver, and I'm thinking, probably not a good idea to do a pile driver to a guy that fell on his head, like not even 10 minutes earlier. Okay, so that's before you even attempted the move, I'm thinking, okay, that might not be the spot to do. We don't know for sure if Bron Breakker is not concussed. But he goes for a pile driver, just like John Cena, right? The match with Punk and Cena. The famous pile driver match on Raw in 2013. What a great match. Better than this one. And Punk was the one in that one who delivered the pile driver, right? So he's going to give him a pile driver. He gives him a terrible pile driver. Now, I don't know if he just botched it or if he was just being overprotective, which I could totally understand, right? You don't want to hurt the guy. And maybe he was thinking about that spot before. And it was like, all right, we'll do the spot, but like I have to really, protect him on it. But if you're going to do the move like that, don't even bother doing it. Like it just, dude, it looked horrible. It just looked terrible. And I think even the announcers were like, he didn't get all of it. It's like, yeah, no shit. He didn't get any of it. Like his legs were basically closed. And anyway, so that did not come off the way I'm sure that he wanted it to come off. Breakker, though, he got Punk down in a Fujiwara armbar. Punk rolled out of it. He transitioned into an Anaconda Vice. Breakker sat up while in the hold, and he's just staring at Punk. So, like, remember when Undertaker and Brock Lesnar did that spot at SummerSlam? They sat up, stared at each other, started laughing. Right? There was no laughing here, but they're like this, and Bron is just staring a hole in him. So they get back to their feet, and he hoists Punk up for another gut buster. And then he hits a clothesline or a Steiner line. He covers him. Punk kicks out. So now Bron Breakker says it's time for Punk to go to sleep. He gets him up for the GTS. On the way down, though, Punk picks the ankle. He gets the STF applied. He's taking a page out of John Cena's playbook. Breakker slowly inches his way towards the ropes. He gets the rope. Punk, though, drags him back to the center of the ring. But now Paul Heyman is back up on the apron again. And Punk is distracted. Some of that dumb babyface syndrome is creeping up. You would think a veteran like Punk would know. Just let the guy yell and bloviate on the apron. All right, you got a match to win here. But he allows himself to be distracted. So he goes over to Heyman and he punches him. Grabs him and he delivers a punch to Paul Heyman. Bron Breakker comes in for the spear, though. Punk doesn't see him coming. But he manages to avoid him. And Breakker goes flying through the ropes and out to the floor. CM Punk then flies out of the ring. I guess he was going for a suicide dive. And it was nearly a suicide dive. Because he took a header. I shouldn't laugh. He took a header, into the floor. I don't even know how else to describe it. Like, Breakker avoided him, or maybe he hit him. I don't know. Maybe he caught him with a forearm or something. But, like, Punk just went straight down into the floor. And the referee went over to check on him to make sure that he was alive and that he was okay. So now Punk is using the announce desk to try to pick himself back up and, drag himself back to his feet. But Bron Breakker has now climbed to the top rope. He's all the way up top. And there's a good distance from where he is to where Punk is. Punk's not really on the announce desk. He's sort of like leaned over or leaning on the announce desk. And Breakker comes flying off the top rope like a missile with this, I guess really it's more like a diving kind of elbow, kind of. But it's like a super dive. And he crashes into Punk and they both go crashing through the announce desk. It was just this spectacular bump that he took. And the crowd reacted huge to it. And Breakker, like almost immediately, gets up and he gets Punk back inside the ring. Like he doesn't really waste any time. So he puts him back inside. And Paul Heyman is sitting on the outside, by the way, after being punched. And he's laughing. He's laughing at this because he knows that's it. It's over. So he puts Punk back in the ring. And the straps come down. Here comes the spear. Comes off the ropes. Punk lifts a knee. Catches him right in the head. Right? Maybe the side of the head. Punk gets him up for the GTS. He eats all of the GTS. And CM Punk pins Bron Breakker clean as a sheet in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. To retain the World Heavyweight Championship. I can't believe they did that spot just for Punk to more or less no-sell it and then just come right back and win clean. Like, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not shocked that Punk won. It's not that Punk won, but like I very much question doing that the way they did at the very end. I just don't think that I think it took away from the spot, but also just it didn't really do Bron Breakker any favors. There were some rough spots in this one. I mentioned what they were, especially the couple of times that each of them could have been seriously hurt. But I thought it picked up well enough there towards the end. And there were some dramatic near falls there in like the final few minutes of the match. So it ended up being good. Again, it started off very dull and it was long. I mean, it went like 26, 27 minutes. We had a whole bunch of commercial breaks in the middle of it. Which again, if you're watching with a VPN or you're watching internationally, maybe isn't a big deal. But if you're not, it does, kind of kill the vibe, when you're watching the match. Breakker losing clean, I'll say it again. I don't think it's as damaging as some people might, think it is. But it all depends on the follow-up. Bron Breakker has to come out of this as just an absolute killer, like ready to just rip people's heads off. Because he just cannot accept the fact that he lost to this man. He can't believe that he threw everything that he threw at him and he still lost. He's embarrassed. And he's got to make up for it somehow. That's why I think this needs to vault him into the top, 2 favorites to win the Rumble. Because I still think we're looking at Roman Reigns as the winner of the Royal Rumble. In a perfect world, it would be somebody different. It would not be Roman Reigns. It might not be anybody who's won the Rumble before. Not even Randy Orton. It would be somebody new. Someone like a Bron Breakker. Is that what WWE has in mind for him? If they want him in a world championship match or WrestleMania, then yeah, I would say him winning the Rumble is the way to go. And if he wins the Rumble, then this is all forgotten about. Because in one night, he can punch his ticket to the night one main event of WrestleMania. And I think that if Bron Breakker is going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, there's a very good chance that in WWE's mind, he's like their chosen one. Maybe they're saving the world title win for the big stage. And in their mind, they envision that when it finally happens, it's going to happen there. It's going to happen at WrestleMania, in front of 50 or 60,000 people. And maybe that's what they have in their mind. If that happens, again, we're not going to be talking about what happened on January 5th. This is not going to matter. This is going to be forgotten about. It's all in the follow-up. There were a lot of dramatic near falls. It was very competitive. Breakker, I don't think Breakker came out of this looking terrible, but he also didn't come out of it looking as strong as I feel like he should have. That's going to be on them now to kind of get it right, coming out of this. The one thing I will say, it would appear to me to make things a little more likely that Drew McIntyre might just pull it off on Friday in Germany when they're in Berlin, 3 stages of hell. Because I never expected 2 title changes in the same week with the world titles. I didn't necessarily expect 1 title change. The fact that they didn't do the one here makes it a little more likely that Drew might actually get the win on Friday. Fingers crossed. Because if either of these men, if you had to choose just one, Drew is the one who needs it more. This was Bron Breakker's first ever world championship match on the main roster. Drew McIntyre's had a lot more than that. And the last few he's had, he's been a failure. So if anybody needs to come out with a W this week, it's McIntyre. Bron Breakker can do it at the Rumble. He could do it in Mania. For Drew McIntyre, I feel like it's now or never. It's now, or he just moves on beyond Cody to just something lower on the card. And then at that point, going into WrestleMania, I don't know what his filming schedule is going to be. He's supposed to go off and film for the new Highlander movie. So I don't even know if he's going to be around for WrestleMania. But I feel like it's now or never come Friday for Drew. This at least increases his chances just a little bit. Just a smidge. On the whole, though, this was not a good show. For a show that was hyped up for so many weeks as being a big deal, the big kickoff here to the new year, you want to start off. I mean, again, they had the title change at the beginning with the women in the tag division, and that's fine. But you look at everything else that happened on the show, by and large, it was just like, I don't know, man. There's no life to it. There's just no life to it. There's no excitement. There's no real fun. Where's the fun? That's what Monday Night Raw should be. Especially now we're heading into the Rumble. We're heading into WrestleMania season. This is where things ought to be feeling that way. And it just doesn't right now. And I thought that if it was going to, you would certainly think it would start with this first show of the new year. They're in New York, right? 1 year anniversary of the Netflix debut. And it was just a very half-hearted effort with some, we had a couple of good matches that kind of bookended the show, but then a lot of shit in the middle that was just like, man, this is a slog to sit through. And we're not even watching 3 hours of SmackDown. We have 3 hours of SmackDown on Friday. I don't know. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. Clearly, I'm not the only one who is not enthused by this show. Look at this poll. This is not what you usually see here for a Raw poll. Thumbs up, not even 20%. That is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And again, I understand some of that is going to be the people upset that Jericho wasn't there. I'm not upset that Jericho wasn't there. WWE, they kind of trolled you with that Adam Pearce video over the weekend. Otherwise, they didn't really say anything about it either. Just people getting ahead of themselves, thinking he was going to be there. Nobody ever said he was going to be there. But are we really getting upset in 2026 that Chris Jericho didn't show up? Are we really doing this? Don't be one of those people. Thumbs in the middle got 28% roughly. And look at that thumbs down. 52.6% thumbs down for this show tonight. Think those people were happy with Monday Night Raw? I wonder if the people who paid for some of those ticket prices, who went to the show, were happy with Monday Night Raw. That's why I didn't go to Monday Night Raw. I got to watch the show for free. Now I get to be here with all of you. I got the better deal. Let's take a look at your super chats. You can get them on in. I'll be reading them here. And then we will be doing at least one round of Be the Booker. We've already hit the likes goal, which is great. We're very close to 500. Let's get 500. That should be easy. We're less than 10 away. But thank you to the nearly 1,800 of you hanging out with me here on a Monday night. Is Monday Night Football done? I don't think there was Monday Night Football tonight, right? I think Monday Night Football is over now. Hey, Joseph Stewart, happy Monday to you too, my friend. I have not seen that documentary. And as far as Goodfellas is concerned, I got to go with the, I got to go with the bar scene. I got to go with the bar scene. It's your shine box. The Giver. I don't know what that is. I haven't seen that. He has a prediction, though, wrestling prediction. Predicting that Dominic will win Money in the Bank. In 2026 will be the year of Live Dom. All right. Well, I got Logan Paul winning Money in the Bank. But Dom is a very sound choice also. What other Netflix shows can they force WWE to collaborate with them on for next year's Raw premiere? Let's all take guesses as to what other Netflix show that they can collaborate with. What are some other big Netflix shows? Ed Wood. I did see Ed Wood, yes. I believe Georgie Animal Steel has a role in that movie. Or is it Ed? Yeah, I think it was Ed Wood. I believe so. I have not seen that Jeff Bridges movie. But if you haven't seen Tron, you should definitely check the original one out. Actually, I like the sequel too. Cups, the movie Cups. Never seen that one. Pump Up the Volume? Nope. Uma Thurman's daughter was in Stranger Things. I did not know that. Do you remember the David Bowie song Underground from the Labyrinth movie? I like the Labyrinth movie, so I do actually know that. Says, did you know that Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the only time Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny appeared on screen together? Wow, that's like WWE and AEW. They're not allowed to appear on screen together. It's like Shinsuke Nakamura is not allowed to be in the ring when Kenny Omega's out there. That's how they treat Mickey and Bugs. Did you know Disney was the original voice? Walt Disney was the original voice of Mickey Mouse when he created Mickey Mouse. Well, he created Mickey Mouse, so yes. I kind of figured that was the case. Actually, you want to know who probably one of the great voice artists of all time was when it comes to characters? Mel Blanc. He did them all. All those Looney Tunes voices, that was all him. Super talented. All right, so let's see. Some of these Squid Game. Oh, God. Yes, let them collaborate. Can we have the creative team playing Squid Game? I'd watch that. Fuck this WWE Unreal bullshit. Can we get the WWE creative team forced into a game of Squid Game? Would you guys watch that? I know I would. Let's have a WWE Squid Game collaboration. Love is Blind? Is that on Netflix? Was Diesel versus Shawn always the plan for WrestleMania 11? Yes. How different would the Attitude Era have been if Sid was part of the Attitude Era in 98 and 99? Not radically different. Man, there was a Sid compilation they put together on the Vault recently of all of his ECW appearances. Holy shit. How fucking over was he, man, in ECW? Like, the formula they had for him, it was very simple, and it just worked. And he was over, like, I mean, he was over everywhere he worked, but in ECW, man, he would come out there, they would treat him like a god. They just wanted to see him powerbomb people. That's it. Did you know Hogan versus Brett was supposed to be the main event at Starrcade 99 instead of Brett versus Goldberg? Yeah, and Brett would have had possibly many more years of his career had it gone down that way. Do you think DDP against Goldberg should have been the main event of Starrcade 98 instead of Nash against Goldberg? I do. I think DDP should have been the one to end the streak and win the title. I would have done it at Halloween Havoc, but you could have rematched them at Starrcade. Do you remember the TV show Sledgehammer? Vaguely. How would you have booked Brett's WCW run? I have answered this before on the podcast. I actually rebooked his entire first year in WCW, so I would advise you to go find that segment. I don't remember the episode number offhand. I actually just covered it recently, not too long ago. But I think it's a video up on the YouTube channel somewhere. So go check that out. Why do you think there are some that think Brett should have beaten Goldberg's streak? Are there people who think that? I've never heard of there being some great movement for Brett to be the one to beat it. I've never heard that. If the Patriot was part of the Attitude Era, do you think he would have gotten a Stone Cold versus Patriot feud? No. We would not have gotten Stone Cold against the Patriot. Were there other feuds Stone Cold was supposed to have in the Attitude Era in 98 and 99? He was supposed to work with Jeff Jarrett, and he said no. I ain't working with that jabron. He did not like Jeff Jarrett. How different would Stone Cold's career be if The Rock did not get over like he did? I don't think it would have affected Austin's career too radically. It was great that he had someone like a 1A and a 1B, you know, to play off each other. But I think he still would have been white hot as a character on the show. You know, that anti-authority guy. They would have just, you know, found a different foil for him. Maybe it would have been Triple H. Do you remember the TV show WKRP in Cincinnati? I'm singing the theme song in my head as we speak. How different would Ahmed Johnson's career have been if he was part of the Attitude Era? Would not have been any different at all. He would have continued to injure himself and injure other people, and he would have been fired because he wasn't that good. Do you remember the Harris brothers? Unfortunately, yes, I do. And they did nothing for me. Do you know why they did the NWA stuff on WWE TV in early to mid 98? You know, offhand, I don't. I don't know why Vince went for that. I'm sure Cornette loved it, but it was fucking lame on WWF television in the Attitude Era. It didn't fit. It was never going to work. Do you know whatever happened to Kurgan from the Truth Commission? Yeah, he became an actor. He was actually in a film with Robert Downey Jr. I think it might have been... Oh, what movie was that? I forgot. But he was in a movie with him, and he punched him in the face for real. And I know he was very upset about that. I remember Downey saying he was more upset about it than I was when he punched me in the face. Oh, I think it might have been Sherlock Holmes. That's what it was. I think it was Sherlock Holmes. But yeah, he's been in a few movies. Luna Vachon, definitely underrated, yes. And that's it for Joseph. Thank you, Joseph. Some good wrestling questions there. I appreciate the wrestling questions very much. We got dried ribs and chicken without flavor. I called it. Raw and Stranger Things collaboration happened. Also, well, that's certainly your opinion. If Jade Cargill was on Raw tonight, her entrance would be fired. Fired or fire? Bringing back the lightning entrance, but with red coloring and the Mind Flayer shadow. Now, that would have been fire. I agree. I'm predicting AEW will do another collaboration with HBO Max streaming show, but this time it would be It. Welcome to Derry. Oh, man. Dried ribs, I will do that. Thank you. If Raw was TVMA tonight, Raquel Rodriguez would either use a cinder block or a car to crush Stephanie Vicair's walking boot. And that leg would be that leg would be shattered, and so would her title reign. I don't think they want her out for more than a few weeks. You're putting her out for a year with that. Tonight's Raw with the collaboration of Stranger Things, I give it a C. The marketing department, on the other hand, I give it a B+ for effort. Alex with the 10. If anyone defends this hot garbage of a show, you are the problem. This was atrocious. 2026 WWE is going to be 2025 all over again. Well, I mean, why would you think it would be any different? It's the same people writing the show. You know what irked me was airing the Unreal Season 2 trailer during the show. Like, I get it. Like, the show itself, fine. Airing the entire trailer during Raw, where they're just openly talking about, like, scripting the fake injury with Seth Rollins and scripting this and faking that. And it's like, do we really need to watch this shit during the actual show? It bugs the shit out of me. Super Pony, first time I've watched Raw in full in months. I was reminded tonight why that was the case. The shows feel lifeless nowadays. It makes me sad. It's because they are. It's very corporate. It's very corporate. Unfortunately, that's not going to change. It's only going to get worse. You know, they'll have weeks where they'll hit a home run. But by and large, the formula for these shows, it is very formulaic. But it's just very corporate. You know, it's about getting the stars on the show so they could do their entrance. And, you know, it's just, I don't know. Personal issues between people. Like what we had in 2024, you know, with Punk and Drew, stuff like that is very rare. I mean, I could use examples from 20 and 30 years ago. You guys know all those stories I would probably use, right? Whether it was Bret and Stone Cold or, you know, Michaels and Bret, Austin and Rock. You know, we don't have enough of that anymore. Everything just feels so phony. Everything feels very phony on these shows. Can't really invest in these stories in the way that you used to, and I think that sucks. Aaron with the $9.99. It feels like the creative team has no passion or fun. Fans love to fantasy book. These people get to do it for a living, and it seems like it's a chore to them. Are they entertained by this? Do they care? I don't know if they necessarily do. Beyond, you know, they get their paycheck, they go to work, they have a formula that works. And there's always issues to deal with people getting injured and stuff. It's not an easy job. I don't think anybody's saying it's easy, but you also can't force people to think that it's fun because it's not. Solo's favorite sicko. LOL at all the hypocrites that suddenly give a damn about Chris Jericho. Womp womp. Maybe next week. Jericho is not going to be in Dusseldorf next week. If he wasn't there tonight, you're waiting until the Rumble. He'll be in Saudi. He will not be in Dusseldorf. We got Maven. I will have to start watching SmackDown exclusively. Then if SmackDown starts sucking too, I'll just watch AEW. Cringe Becky gets the belt again. Fuck that. Dried ribs and chicken. I bet if The Rock was there in Brooklyn, the Duffer Brothers and some of the cast members of Stranger Things would have come to the show. Yeah, they didn't want to have anything to do with this. They're like, yeah, our job is done. The season's over. Leave us alone. At least we didn't get terrible comedy tonight. I was a little worried they were going to have like at least that one backstage segment where if Vince was still there, we would totally get some awful fucking like comedy skit. Ugh. Believe it or not, it could have been worse. Shawnee says, buy, rent, sell potential Undertaker opponents that were rumored to have happened. Abyss, Hayde Vanson, and Amish Roadkill. Amish Roadkill? When was he rumored? Who the hell wanted to see Amish Roadkill against The Undertaker? Abyss has to be number one. That was rumored to be a WrestleMania match. It was going to kick off at the Royal Rumble. It's going to be a WrestleMania match, I want to say in 2006. So that would have been WrestleMania 22, I believe. And he got cold feet. And he just wanted to stay in TNA and kind of help TNA grow. So it didn't happen. Hayde Vanson. I remember hearing about Hayde Vanson. I don't even remember who played Hayde Vanson. Yeah, I mean, that didn't excite me at all. It's basically the only one from that list that I gave a shit about was Abyss. Fabergé egg, perhaps. Willy Billy, it's a pretty subtle thing, so most won't pick up on it, but Becky is really starting to lean into the Becky Hogan thing. Yellow and red everywhere. If you read some of her like messages, you can kind of pick up on it. I did not notice the yellow and red stuff. So Shawnee says, buy, rent, sell. Guys who were rumored to beat the streak. Angle, Edge, Mark Henry. I don't think any of them should have beaten the streak. But of those three, if someone was going to beat the streak, Angle. Kurt Angle. He's the man. Phil says Adam Pearce is an idiot. That's his entire message. Poor Adam Pearce. Hey, look, us authority figures, we have to look out for each other. I'm just saying. It could be a very stressful job. He's doing the best he can. Maven says Punk versus Breaker had no right to be this boring. Yeah, I mean, the first half of it certainly was. Again, I thought that there were some good near falls near the end. It wasn't a total loss, but it was not some great, memorable championship match. You know, it was just... It was a match, and Punk beat him clean. I sure hope they have a good follow-up to it. Barry says Netflix just added Raw Talk. Did they add the missing Raw episodes? Nope. No, and they won't. It's not a priority for them. They don't give a shit. They've had the Raw Vault up for a year. I think they literally go from 2001 to like, is it 2007 or 2020? Or it's like, dude, there's whole years that are missing. I don't even care about those later years, but like the earlier ones, like 1994, there's like 4 episodes for the year. Like they don't give a shit. They don't care. It's just not going to be updated. You got to pirate that shit. That's it. I'm sorry. That's what you got to do. They leave us no choice. Solo's favorite sicko. People who are disenchanted with WWE. I hope you don't give up on wrestling altogether. There's plenty out there. It doesn't have to be AEW or TNA. Well, that is very true. In fact, we just had a huge Tokyo Dome show this past weekend. That was, of what I saw of it, pretty damn good. Phil says, tuned into Raw only to see the Usos run their entrance twice and watch Stephanie Vicaire talk in Spanish and get beaten up. What a half... What a half hour wasted. That was my biggest issue with this show, dude. There was so much, like, in the middle of the show, you just bounce from one segment to the other of just nothing. Just absolute nothing. Just, like, if you missed it, you didn't miss a damn thing. Maven says, 25, drunk always. 26, drunk once a week. Edward Brooks, the last month of WWE television could have been an email. It's okay, guys. This is what they do. That's Triple H's favorite phrase. It's what we do. It's what we do. It's what we do. This is what we do. What is it that you do exactly? Super Pony, Punk beat Gunther clean at SummerSlam. Why are people acting like they can't buy him beating Bron clean when we all agree Gunther is better than... Yeah, but dude, Gunther also tapped like a bitch to Jey Uso, and now he's this destroyer. There's a big disconnect in terms of how certain people are booked. You really have to turn your brain off when it comes to some of this shit. Steven says, what in your opinion is nuclear heat? Hogan heel turn type shit. I mean, Hogan in 96 would be a good example of it because he was the red and yellow babyface, all for the kids, right, for so many years, and then he just betrayed everybody. So that's one example. Another example would be like if you have this beloved legend or babyface and you just murder them. Right? Like a serious injury angle. Depending on who it is that you're beating up or putting on the shelf, you would get nuclear heat for that. You know, somebody who maybe interferes in a big match where people are hoping for a finish and then somebody runs out and screws it all up, right? Like you can get nuclear heat for that. I mean, it depends. It depends. I mean, if Gunther had beaten John Cena and refused to release the hold and kept it on for like 10 minutes and had to be pried off, or, you know, after he beat John Cena, he ran back out while Cena's saluting in the aisleway, and, you know, he runs back out and attacks him with brutal beatdown with a chair and bloodies him and everything. Like, he probably would have gotten nuclear heat for a while after that. Then people would have a reason to be really upset with the guy. Toya says, since Bron lost, what are the chances of a Drew win on Friday? I mean, they went up like 5% tonight. I still don't think he has a very good chance. But his chances did go up a little bit tonight. Super Pony, you predicted in your 2026 predictions that Kevin Owens would return at the end of the year. Do you think the Orton feud ever gets resolved? No. He'll be gone for so long at that point. They don't even know what Randy Orton will be doing. When he comes back, I don't know if he'll be a babyface or a heel. I would imagine at first he'll be a babyface. It's going to be forgotten about. I don't see there being a resolution. Randy Bobandy, speaking of Randy, howdy Solo. If you had to pick a top 5 WCW WWE Cruiserweight champion, who would you put Billy Kidman, or would you put Billy Kidman on that list, considering he's a 7-time champion? If not, who is your top 5? I don't really have a top 5. Rey Mysterio would be in that group, obviously. Are we talking champions? Because then Eddie has to be on that list. You got to have Eddie Guerrero on that list. Juventud Guerrero. Wasn't Jericho a cruiserweight champion? Yeah, I mean, it really depends on like what time period you're talking about. Enzo, who said that? I have to throw you out of here. Fucking Enzo. But Billy Kidman, no, I don't really look at him as a top 5 cruiserweight. Broly, Becky's last singles match that wasn't Maxxine was Nikki Bella back in August. Also, Liv is great. Can't believe Triple H gave her a terrible title run. The Shoulder Demon. I was listening to episode 945 of the Sound Off, and you told me to take a month off for WrestleMania. I never take a month off. I'm no days off, Shoulder Demon. Now I will break shoulders. Uh-oh. Who's next? Who's the next victim? VQ. Do you see Jericho returning at the Rumble? Yes, I do. He said, I could see the clock getting down to 5 seconds and switching to Y2J's countdown and getting a big pop. I hope they let him use Judas as well. I feel like even if he uses Judas during his run, I think so their fans would recognize it. They would probably go with Break the Walls Down. At least at the beginning. Marquand says, hey, Solo, I'm turning 50 tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I kid. You know, if you turn the clock back, you won't. Just keep turning the clock back by an hour. You'll never turn 50. But happy birthday, brother. It's a big milestone. You're half a century old. I hope it's a good birthday. I'm sorry that you couldn't get a better Monday Night Raw for your birthday. Leopoldo says Jericho countdown at the Royal Rumble would be timely. Yes, it would. It's actually not a bad idea. Unless you kind of ruin the pop, though. Like if you want to wait until the music hits. Alexander says this episode of Raw felt like Capital Combat 90. Dude, I would have rather been watching Capital Combat 90. Leopoldo says, Pillmanizer sounds like a bad Bill Cosby nickname. At least Punk was safe and used protection with Bron. Trying to be Sidro, are you? There can only be one more chance for Drew to win the belt. This is it. It's Berlin or bust for Drew McIntyre. Prince Vegeta says watching Raw is like I'm constantly running up that road, running up that hill. Fabian Garcia, book WrestleMania 50 main event. Too far in advance. WrestleMania 50? WrestleMania 50. Cody Rhodes against Javon Evans. There you go. Devin from New Jersey. I don't get it. Wrestlers look down on us as being marks and fanboys, but when we do criticize the product, Triple H tells us to shut up and be fans. What do they want from us? They want your money. They want you to buy the various subscriptions. They want you to buy tickets. They want you to buy merch. And they want you to keep your fucking mouth shut. That's what they want. HBKC83, how useful would the defending a title in 30 days rule be in today's world of... I think it would be very useful. I never would have gotten rid of it. Paul Carpenter, any word on old school wrestling like WCW, NWA, and ECW on Netflix? So far they have every WWF. I hope they get us what we want. NXT also. They haven't announced shit. They have really I think, when it comes to communications on this stuff, they have demonstrated that they truly do not care. The way it's been handled has been awful. Absolutely awful. For the people who care about this kind of stuff, they are getting no guidance. They're getting nothing. They're getting nothing. That's how little they think of you. You want WCW stuff, you got to go to the WCW YouTube channel. They actually just updated a whole full show. I'm trying to remember which one it was. But they just uploaded another. They have a bunch of full shows there. That's going to be your best bet. I just bookmarked it, actually. Whatever it was that they uploaded earlier. Jay Williams, it's time we talk about Cena's greatest promo of all time. Brock, to get a concussion, you need a brain. Chill. I'm quite partial to the night that Cena just completely eviscerated Roman Reigns on the microphone. More. Not kidding. Wrestle Kingdom 20, Okada Tanahashi is better than Wrestle Kingdom 10. Okada Tanahashi. I can see where some people would feel that way because it was just a different... It was a different story this time, It was just like the aging veteran against his greatest nemesis trying to hang in there for one last win. And you had the story. I just went through this whole thing. I did a bonus podcast this afternoon. So I'll just direct you to that. I just think what they did was fantastic. And the stuff with Okada kind of starting out as AEW Okada, and then towards the end, he had to really dig down deep for the old Rainmaker to get the job done. And the storytelling was much better in this one. As a match, it's been a while since I've seen the Wrestle Kingdom 10 match. I would think as a match, that one was better, but the story here in this one and the history between them just sets this one apart. Navy says, Matt Hardy V1 had the best Titantron and fun facts. It was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome. Very creative. Something WWE is not much of these days. Alex says, apparently Jericho was in LA and was never slated to appear on Raw tonight. Also, weren't LA Knight and Chad Gable supposed to make their return? No, I mean, Gable's on his way back soon. He was never really confirmed for this show. LA Knight, though, was someone who... He was rumored. I actually completely forgot about him now. I'm actually more surprised that we didn't get him than I am that we didn't get Jericho. JDF VA, I think LA would work as Intercontinental Champion. What are your thoughts? Well, he won the U.S. title. If he wins the Intercontinental title, I certainly hope his run is booked better than it was as the U.S. champion, because that was a dog shit run. Jeremy Rose, Rhea turning on Io is going to be nuclear, right? If it happens, yeah, that would be a good example. I would think of some nuclear heat. I mean, look, as nuclear as heat can be in today's very homogenized WWE. But people really like Io. As much as they love Rhea, I think if she did something really evil to Io, that would definitely get a ton of heat. RDS Harry, hey brother, I just turned 29 today. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate everything that you do. The #1 podcaster in the world. That's right. See, this guy knows what's up. Happy birthday, Harry. Fabian Garcia, main event Jey Uso or main event Hardcore Holly? Main event Hardcore Holly. Because Hardcore Holly didn't come out and have 8-minute entrances. He was no nonsense. He just came out to the ring to beat people up. He didn't come out and yeet for fucking 14 minutes. Alex says, off topic here. Do you know why WWE did not continue with SmackDown after the April 1999 pilot episode and waited until August? That's not how it works. April was, you said it yourself, dude. April was the pilot. And so it never goes directly. You got to get the show picked up first. They had to see how the pilot would do. And once UPN decided they wanted to pick up the show, then they had to slot it in. And then it started in August. It's not an immediate thing. That's not how TV works. There was always going to be a gap. Leopoldo says, break the walls down. We'll be cut the tree down at the Royal Rumble. Oh my God. Can you imagine if like the countdown is down to like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we just hear, I? Oh God. I am the learning tree. And then Solomonster, who is not even live on YouTube. He's watching it. He's watching the show like everybody else, hits the button. Just on instinct. Super Pony, 2018 to 2022 WWE or this TKO era, which is worse? Still go 2018 to 2022. You know why? It's a double whammy. Because it included Vince, who was at, far beyond his years in creative, as a creative mind, but also the COVID era in front of no fans, which I have no interest in going back and watching. We were kind of double fucked in that era. Maven says Raw tonight. At least SummerSlam 2002 is better. Yeah, there's a lot of shows that are better. And Leopoldo, can you see Hardy's, New Day, Usos triple threat at Mania? No, we got to get Usos and Lucha Brothers. That's the match. I know that's what Matt Hardy wants, but that's not what I want. I want what I want. I don't want what Matt Hardy wants. Jay Williams, imagine Def Rebel does Jericho's theme song. I don't want to imagine. I would think that as someone who is a music head, the way that he is, Jericho would just refuse to return to the company outright if he knew that Def Rebel was going to make his new music. he would just go back to Tony Khan and go, okay, I'll resign. What do you want? 2 years? 3 years? Can you even imagine? What would that music even sound like? What would the opening soundbite be? Right, Chris Jericho, Def Rebel theme. As you ponder that question, let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Questions for you to ponder. Down yonder. Hi, guys. All right, we got one round. We got to make it count. We got to make it a good one. We get no double tonight. We get one shot at this. Triple H may let you down, but my job here is to make sure that I give the people what they want. And I'm giving the people Kane and the Big Show. I have failed you. I have failed you. Boy, this is meat madness here is what this is. This is big boys. We got Kane and Big Show against the Natural Disasters. You know what? John Tenta, man, he was the man. John Tenta was the man. Then you got Uncle Fred over here. You got the Shockmaster. Look how happy he is. I got to give it the bell. We got a hoss battle here. Come on. All right, women's Be the Booker. We have Alicia Fox. we have the great Alicia Fox. Remember those great Alicia Fox matches, man? Man, all those classic matches. Alicia Fox against Saraya. Goodbye. I mean, it was over from Alicia Fox, but I just was curious to see who the opponent would be. I had to at least see who it was going to be. Well, you get no clean sweep tonight. Hey, there's Fire Panda. Everybody wish Fire Panda a very happy new year. Fire Panda, I hope you are having a happy new year so far, 5 days in. All right, main event time. We have the mighty Yokozuna is in the main event. Two-time WWF champion. Or as Mr. Fuji used to call him, my Yokozuna. My Yokozuna. That's how he used to say it. Oh my God. Yokozuna against Logan Paul. Oh, he's taking a bonsai splash. He's taking a bonsai splash. He's going to squash Logan Paul like a pancake. I don't know why that made me laugh. Yokozuna against Logan Paul. One of those, like, I love that, like the generational clash here. Should we add a stipulation? I'm like so curious to add a stipulation to this. I already gave it a bell. I don't want to fuck it. Why not? Let's just do it. We got to give this a stipulation. I need to know what the stipulation is going to be. Yokozuna. Actually, you know what? This is probably not good for Yokozuna. Yokozuna against Logan Paul in a Brawl for All match. Logan Paul does box. So I actually think he's got the edge in this one. But then again, I mean, Yokozuna, he's so big, he could just smother him, you know? I don't think that's allowed, though, in a Brawl for All match. I think you'd be disqualified. How's that for a match? Yokozuna and Logan Paul in a Brawl for All match. I ruined it. No, I think I enhanced it. I think I made it better. And Alex says, do you know when the rumors and conspiracies started regarding Glenn Jacobs never being the original Kane? I mean, as soon as he went to the half mask, I think, is when it really started. I mean, we had the same conspiracy theories with the Ultimate Warrior. People thought he died in a car accident. That was the rumor for many years because he came back at WrestleMania 8 and he was completely deflated, right? He was still ripped, but like not nearly as ripped as he was a year earlier. It's like someone stuck a fucking pin in him. People didn't think it was him. They go, oh, the real Ultimate Warrior. He died in a car wreck. Moore says, your stream froze at Tyrus versus Yoko. And I lost it. Yeah, Yoko would mop the floor with him. Thankfully, it unfroze for you very quickly. Thankfully.
It's the amazing Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Fire Panda knows how to make an entrance here at the very end, and Fire Panda drops a $50 Gunther bomb. A very happy new year indeed for Fire Panda. Says, for the drinks after the show. I need some after this show tonight. What is the greatest Kenny Omega match? It was against Okada. I want to say it was their second match. God, they were like, I'm trying to remember which one it was now. Was it Wrestle Kingdom or was it Dominion? I don't remember. I want to say it was their second one. I think it's the greatest, like bell to bell, the greatest match maybe that I've ever seen. That's how great that match was. Really, all of their matches were. I mean, they had a 19-minute or 20-minute G1 match that was fucking great. Yeah, but then you have these 40-minute classics where, you know, it starts slow and it builds and everything, but like, yeah, I mean, some of the greatest matches I've ever seen. Yeah, I don't remember if it was the Wrestle Kingdom match I'm thinking of or I think it was the second one. It wasn't quite an hour, I don't think, but it was close. Irenzo, Stephanie Vicaire looking some type of way tonight, even with the boot on, huh? Even with the boot on. She always looks very nice. And Linkmaster X, remember the pedigree into the thumbtacks. Ouch. Oh, I remember it. How could I forget? Vince was pissed. He's like, what are you, out of your mind? You could have gone blind. He was right. It was very dumb. But 25 years later, actually 26 years later now, people still remember it. They still talk about it. Yokozuna would have made the perfect E-Honda for Street Fighter today. Well, we're going to get Hiroki Goto as E-Honda in the new Street Fighter movie. When is that coming out, by the way? I probably will watch that. But I'm more looking forward to the Mortal Kombat movie, which was pushed back from October to May. So we got to wait a few months, but I'm definitely going to see that. That's the Johnny Cage one. With Carl Urban. First movie I ever saw Carl Urban in, Doom, with The Rock. What was that, 2004? 2005? Anyway, the Wrestle Kingdom 20 review is now up. I did not see the entire show as far as the undercard. I saw the 4 matches I wanted to see. Which was the women's match, the Aaron Wolf debut, and the double main event. So I did a 20-minute extra just going over my thoughts on that. That went up this afternoon. I pushed the audio out. It's on YouTube as well. Please go ahead and support, like the video, leave comments. That way it'll get into the algorithm. More people will see it. But leave a comment there. Let me know what you thought. I thought it was great. I thought it was great. And if you missed the rest of the podcast, episode 945, that went up this weekend with my predictions, thoughts on the Vince McMahon stuff that came out last week, the William Regal stuff, bunch of other things, and a gigantic mailbag. Tons of your questions, just like we answered here tonight. And we'll do it again on Wednesday as well. I'm going to be here live with you for the AEW Dynamite review. That'll be Wednesday night. Of course, before that, tomorrow night, I'll be live with JD for Tuesday Night Titans, our first episode of the new year. We fucking killed it in 2025, so we got to do the same thing in 2026. So then we got Dynamite and then Friday. So here's the plan for Friday. Friday is not taped, but they're doing SmackDown in Berlin, Germany. I'm almost positive I'm going to be able to watch it earlier on my VPN. Shout out ExpressVPN. So, assuming that's the case, I'm not waiting for it to go on USA at 8 o'clock. I may go live at 8 o'clock or sometime around like 8:30. So, follow me on X at Solomonster. I'll keep you guys posted on that. But that's my plan. As long as I can watch it in the afternoon, I'd much rather do that. And then we'll talk about 3 Stages of Hell. who knows? Maybe we'll have a new WWE champion to talk about. So that'll be on Friday. Ace Italiano. Blake Monroe looks to be getting called to the main roster, likely Raw. She should be. She should already be there. You know, it was her choice to start in NXT. It's very noble of her. But she was ready for the main roster many months ago. So that's music to my ears if that's the case. Debut her in the Royal Rumble. Let's get her up. She'll just have to have her bodysuit fitted for the Saudi Rumble. As all of the women will. I said this last year when they made the announcement. Genuinely, I wonder how that's going to work. Because obviously they all have to they have to be covered. And you're going to have 30 women coming out. Are they going to be able to distinguish themselves enough? Or are they all going to more or less look the same? I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. We'll all find out together, I guess. What time will SmackDown be on Netflix? I mean, it depends on what Warzone. It depends on what time zone. Depends on what time zone you live in. Or Warzone. I don't know. I think here on the East Coast, I don't know, man. If I log in, what server am I going to log into? I don't even know. You know what? Let me see something here while I'm on the air. Maybe I can get some clarity on this right now. I got my ExpressVPN on my phone. So I'm going to pick a Canadian server. Shout out to all the Canucks out there. So let's go into Netflix and see what it says. Is SmackDown even on Netflix? Oh, it is. Okay. Live event Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So there you go. SmackDown will be on, at least this is on Canadian Netflix. 2 o'clock Eastern time. So that's what I'll be doing. That's perfect. That leads into dinner and then we can go live probably, I don't know, 8:15, sometime around then. Perfect. Let me just run through. Okay. I think we're good. Paul, I don't see the milestone here. Let me check over here real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything on this column. No, I don't see it. I may end up seeing it after, honestly. Hate the way YouTube has all these, like, the member milestones are segregated from the super chats. It's like a different area. It's such a pain in the ass. In any event, thank you guys for all the love. I appreciate it very much. Even though I am still under the weather. Can't shake this, man. I just can't shake it. But the work goes on. I'll see you tomorrow for Tuesday Night Titans and back here Wednesday for the AEW Dynamite stream. So until then, be well, stay safe, have yourselves a good night, and come on back. We're getting close, 90K. I'll see you guys Wednesday.